also want to just reiterate our apologies. I met some of you. You were at Miko's hotel at the same time when we were supposed to be here, so you understand. A lot of you do understand why we couldn't hold it yesterday, but I'm glad all the same that you are here. This morning I have the Minister of, who is actually Acting Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Dr. Sekai Nzenza, who is Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare. Thank you very much once again. Yesterday, Cabinet did meet, and the following are some of the decisions which were taken. Cabinet considered a preliminary report by the Minister of Finance and Economic Development on the 2019 mid-year fiscal policy review. The fiscal policy review confirmed the position that as a consequence of the reform measures being undertaken by the government, the country's economy was now heading towards macroeconomic stabilization. However, a more comprehensive presentation on the subject matter will be made to Parliament during the Minister's mid-year fiscal review and supplementary budget statement, which is scheduled to take place on the 31st of July 2019. That is as far as the report on the 2019 fiscal policy review. So be there at Parliament on the 31st of July 2019. The Cabinet also was briefed on the fuel and energy supply situation in the country by the Minister of Public Service, Labor and Social Services as the Acting Minister of Energy and Power Development. The Minister informed Cabinet that a total of 40 million litres of the combined fuel product is currently being pumped into the country. On the power front, it was reported that the Minister of Energy and Power Development is currently in South Africa for electricity supply negotiations with Eskom. The nation will be apprised of the outcome of the negotiations at an appropriate time. In the meantime, Cabinet resolved to set up an interministerial committee to work closely with the Minister of Energy and Power Development in order to facilitate a collective approach in the resolution of the prevailing power and energy supply challenges which we have in our country. It is critical that at this point we put our heads together, and this is why the Cabinet resolved to come up with a task for the interministerial committee. And for your information, the committee, which will be chaired by the Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Chasi, includes the following ministers: Minister of Industry and Commerce, Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Minister of Environment, Tourism and Hospitality Industry, Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Water, Climate and Rural Resettlement, Minister of Mines and Mining Development, Minister of Information, Communication Technology, Postal and Courier Services, Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services. Those are the members of that interministerial committee, which will be working closely with the Minister of Energy and Power Development. The interministerial committee will serve as a platform through which players in the critical sectors of the economy can channel their proposals and contributions towards the resolution of the prevailing energy and power supply challenges for consideration by the Ministry and the Zimbabwe Power Company. However, in view of the technical nature of power supply operations, the Ministry has the discretion to decide on how best to proceed with respect to any proposals or suggestions put forward by this committee. That is as far as the situation of power, of fuel and energy report is concerned. Then Cabinet received with great satisfaction a brief by the Minister of Youth, Sports, Arts and Recreation on the sterling performance by the Zimbabwe senior netball team, the GEMS, at the just ended Vitality World Cup in Liverpool, in England. The Gems, who finished at a credible 8th position out of 16 contestants, are arriving back home today. Cabinet urges the whole nation to accord our high-flying netball team a befitting hero's welcome. Then Cabinet also received a report from the Minister of Environment, Tourism and Hospitality Industry on the arrival, they arrived yesterday, of a high-powered delegation of 41 investors from Zhejiang province of China. The delegation comprises senior government officials as well as investors from 15 companies drawn from sectors such as energy, transport, communication, and information communication technology, ICT. The visitors are coming on a mission to scout for investment opportunities and to assemble the tourism packages available in the country. While in the country, they will be visiting a number of places. I heard today they went to Chinoy and they will be going to Victoria Falls. The visitors are also expected to sign a memoranda of understanding, which was actually done, for twinning arrangements involving the Chinese province and its cities together with their Zimbabwean counterparts. The visit will further cement the already existing strong relationship and cooperation between Zimbabwe and China. I want to thank you sincerely.
Thank you. Questions, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief Secretary. And thank you once again for those wonderful questions. Perfect Longwani, the issue which you are asking is about what does this macroeconomic stabilization mean when there is fuel increases, prices, economy is still biting. The Cabinet and government is very much concerned about the challenges which are out there and very much concerned about how we can alleviate the problems which the public are actually experiencing. These are issues which are very close to the heart of any government which is mandated to look after the interests of the people. And this is precisely what the Second Republic is all about. And this is why in coming up with this macroeconomic stabilization, we are looking at those issues to make sure that we try to alleviate the challenges which our people are going through. And in terms of the details of that this is why you see the minister is not here, because he's preparing to take it to Parliament. And I welcome you all to go to Parliament on the 31st so that you can see all those concerns are on the table and they're being considered. I guess we at this point, we just want to talk about the fiscal policy review, and this is precisely what he's asked about. And the minister is actually very busy right now, preparing to make sure that they will get. The Chief Secretary was just thinking it's in line again with what the minister is doing, the Minister of Public Service, on the social protection. You know, the TNF is there. The minister can also add on that one. Let me just give it to her after I finish, and then because there are issues which you will have to answer on the energy sector. On the netball team at the world, yes, they did us pride, and we are very proud. And as the women of Zimbabwe, they did a sterling job, and they deserve to be congratulated by all Zimbabweans. In terms of what they are going to be, there are quite a number of activities being lined up by the Ministry of Sports and Recreation. I was talking to Minister Kirsty Coventry, and she was telling me that they will be taken from the airport, they will be put in a hotel, and they will get what their remuneration and their rewards for performing such a sterling job. And there are also some activities just to make sure that they celebrate together with the populace. So what is important is, I think I've just been talking to one of the spokesperson, and they are really they are busy putting together activities to make sure that people celebrate together with the Gems. And as for remuneration, that is also being taken care of. On the power sector, he wants to know what exactly Cabinet is doing. But I thought to just show the seriousness of this issue, government has come up with this ministerial task force. Over and above that, there are quite a number of work which is being done by the minister. That's why the minister is not around. And let me give the opportunity to the minister to speak also on that issue and also on the issue from SABC, which was asking about licenses, who has been given licenses, any licenses, if any licenses have been given. Thank you.
For responding to those questions, I will just add more to what the Honourable Minister has said regarding the energy situation. Yesterday, Cabinet considered fully the situation affecting the country regarding energy. And one of the key outcomes to come out of Cabinet yesterday, as the Honourable Minister has said, is the formation of the Interministerial Committee. And the whole purpose of the Interministerial Task Force is to enable Cabinet ministers from the key industries to put their heads together and find a workable situation to alleviate the situation we have now regarding the energy crisis. There was a question also regarding companies that are seriously affected. And once again, I would say this interministerial committee, which is representing key members from various ministries, will also be seriously looking at those solutions. And we are hoping that when the Minister of Energy does return, and he will be returning end of this week, we are expecting some positive movements in helping us alleviate the current situation. Thank you.
There we go. Chief Secretary. Thank you very much, Minister. And thank you once again, Chief Secretary, and thank you for the questions. Minister, I hope some of the questions I would start off, maybe if just to give you, Takuchi Ambakwe was asking, what are the sentiments from the stakeholders? What are the stakeholders saying about the economic environment, I think? And when will the rest of civil servants receive their cushioning allowance? Maybe you can tackle that, then we can go to Nyasha, who is talking about teachers. But we didn't discuss that in cabinet. But if Minister, you feel you want to tackle it, that will be fine. And maybe let's just deal with those two.
Regarding the situation on prices and also the role of the TNF, I'm very pleased to get that question, because quite seriously, the price hikes are hitting, especially the most vulnerable in our society. However, I am very pleased to say that the legislation of the TNF is enabled to create a social platform whereby the voices from the workers and the voices from the employers, as well as from the government, are able to be heard within the TNF. So this platform's main purpose is to discuss the social, economic issues affecting the country. We shall be meeting fairly soon in order to come out with a clear position on how we can reach a resolution that will enable better situations for those most affected by the current situation. There was another question regarding the cushioning allowance. After much discussion through the NJNC and the Apex Council last week, we came to an agreement that this month, this July, there will be a 50% cushioning allowance, 50% of the current salary for the civil servants. And the lowest paid worker will get $400 as the cushioning allowance. However, negotiations will continue as from the 1st of August. We shall be looking once again at coming to an equitable understanding, and it's all subject to negotiation. That's why I'm pleased to say that through the TNF, through this social platform, we are able to discuss the socio-economic situation without having to go out in the street, because that's unlikely going to happen, because we now have a social platform for dialogue.
The next question, Honorable Minister, was from Hlanga Business Times. You will refer to the 40 million litres of the combined litres which we have.
Thank you very much for that question. And I am made to understand that 40 million litres were being pumped yesterday. However, at this particular moment, I'm not able to give you specific figures. I would really like to get back to the office and get the relevant information so that I can give it to you. And I think you did ask another question regarding the substantial loss.
That was from leonewzimbabwe.com. He says, how much is Zimbabwe losing as a result of the load shedding?
Again, it's a very important question and it should be answered. But again, I'm not able to give you the exact amount of or the level at which we are losing or winning regarding this situation. But I still want to get back to you with a proper answer, if you can allow me some time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think that's very clear. Industry on farmers and agriculture, and certainly the government is seized with those challenges and they're dealing with them and coming up with solutions as quickly as possible. I want to thank you.